Hey, it's Sandy with Quilted Treasures and more. Happy New Year! I know I've waited a whole week to say that. Gosh, it feels like it has been forever since I was actually on Facebook. And I know it's only been like, what, 3 weeks, I think, since the last time I was on. But it feels like a lot longer. All right, so I'm making sure everything looks like it's up and running here. I think it is. I think we got things going good. All right, so I will set that down here. One of my projects for the year is to work on my space here and get it to where I can have my iPad up here with me. And I'd also like to incorporate another one so that way I can be live either on Instagram or TikTok, one of the two. I haven't decided which one to go with. So if you have a favorite, comment below where you'd rather see alive, either on Instagram or TikTok. So let's see. Tonight, I am working on a door hanger that I actually designed. So this is actually mine, which is very different because most all the door hangers that I do um, are templates that I have purchased, and I have over the last few years built up quite a library of templates from southernadornments.com. Um, there's just so many templates in her collection. And so I actually joined the template club and have added very quickly to my library and continue to do so because there's just some really good templates in that group. But this one, I kind of got to thinking more and more along the lines of some nature themed door hangers. And so this is actually the first one that I came up with. It's a barn, and it actually has a barn quilt on it. And if you're not sure what a barn quilt is, along the Gulf Coast, we don't see too many of them. As you go further northward, you will run across them as they are usually on the sides or on the front of barns. They do have mini barn quilts, and as in small, mini, not many as in number, but mini as in small barn quilts that you can use to decorate in your home. And I actually have thought about incorporating some of those, seeing how we go through these phases where we do things like uh, farmhouse style, and then um, the plaid was a thing, and still is in a lot of cases, and then leopard print, and there's been debates in some of my circles about whether or not leopard print is still in or going out, and so I guess it depends on where you're at as to whether or not it's go still running strong or if it's kind of phasing out. So tonight I am going to start on this one. I don't think I'm going to finish this one tonight. I think we're probably going to do this in a couple of parts. Hopefully only 2 parts. Hopefully only 2 parts. But we're going to begin tonight. Let's put it that way. I went back and looked because I actually designed this one, oh goodness, maybe September, October, somewhere in there. And when I designed it, I thought I had picked colors and laid it all out with colors to see what the finished product would look like. I did not. So I'm going to be picking colors as we go and just trying to remember what my mind was envisioning when I started doing this. So this could get interesting. Not that, there's not many of my lives that aren't interesting as far as, things that I come up with or do. But we are going to jump off with the sky first, and I'm actually going to I use Bahama blue a lot for the sky. So I'm going to kind of do a combination of Bahama blue and white. So I'm just going to put a little Bahama blue in here. and get a little white next to it. And I think what I'm going to do is just kind of not really a swirl pattern, but kind of put it together a little bit so that way it's not just one color. Now, at some point I will decide where I'm going to create my line for my ground versus the sky, because it will come down so far and then it will change. And since it's winter time, we're in January, I figured we would add some snow to this one. So there's going to be some snow. So I'll probably paint the bottom white. And so I'll do another layer of white down here and make it darker. But for the moment, I'm going to start on the sky and I'm going to flip this around. And the reason why I'm going to do that, I have an easier time working when I am closest to it rather than reaching over. I know it's weird because you're looking at it upside down, but I tend to do better if I can rotate it around. That's one of the reasons why I have my door hangers on Lazy Susan type gadget, and so I can spin it around and work with it as I need to. So I'm just going to start with the Bahama Blue. I'm not real worried if I get the blue on the branches. Reason being is the branches are going to end up being, of course, brown, and I'll probably go with the dark brown. I got to thinking as I was working on this, this could actually be more than one season. You could actually do this as a fall, or you could actually do this as a winter. I know most of the time we see cardinals with winter, but you could actually come in for a late fall kind of look on this one. So you could actually make this a couple of seasons if you would rather not have the winter look. I kind of like the cardinal door hangers for after Christmas because, you're not quite to spring yet, and I don't like to jump right to Valentine's Day. I like to have something kind of in between. I don't really want Valentine's Day on my door for January. And I have kept Christmas up a little bit longer, but my neighbors look at me kind of weird. Actually, by now they're probably used to it and just don't even look over this way. They're like, okay, yeah, there's the weird person over there with Christmas still up at January 15th. You know. That did happen, I think, one year. I'm really not that bad. I have left things up a little too long before, but I was just busy and didn't get to work with it. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab my white, and while this is still wet, I'm just going to add some white in here. And it's going to kind of look like maybe a lighter spot to the sky, but also give it kind of maybe a thin cloud layer look. And if I don't like the way the white's looking on the edge, then I can just go back and add some more blue to it. And I've done this before. There was Which one did I do this to? Oh, the Merry Christmas with the Church. That's the one I did this to. I actually added the white into the sky and made it look kind of like it had clouds and just different shading for the sun. So you could always add in, a little purple. I did that with the church. I added in some purple. Just give it a little variation on the color. This is the first time I've actually sat down and painted anything. I actually go back to doing orders and stuff tomorrow. So it feels a little weird having not had a paintbrush in my or not having a paintbrush in my hand for a few weeks. There's one, don't get me wrong, wonderful time. I enjoy that time with my family. I would not trade it for anything. But when you're in a routine, it even comes with work. When you take time off and you're on vacation and then you get back into your routine of work, you're like, man, this feels a little odd. I haven't done this in a couple of weeks. So that's about how it feels right now, sitting here with a paintbrush in my hand. It's like, man, I haven't done this in a couple of weeks, and just kind of feels a little strange sitting here. I feel like I haven't done this in so long. I'm just going to go over the branches. Like I said, I'm not really worried about covering the branches in blue because they're going to be brown, and so I know it'll cover up the blue. So I'm just going to make my way around my bird, around my cardinal here. I'm just kind of looking, thinking, okay, well, where do I want to make this line where my sky will end and my snow will begin. So I'm thinking just down, I'm not going to come down to the corner of the barn. So I'm probably just going to kind of start making a little bit of a, not going to come down and make a straight line. I'm just going to kind of make it a jagged line because I'm kind of thinking I may add maybe some shadows of trees off in the distance, maybe. Make it look like it's going uphill. You don't have the tree trunk, so I'm not really worried about that. Don't have to worry about coming up with a tree trunk. Get just a little bit of sky going there between the. Do I want? Do I want? Do I want? I guess I do. Just trying to think if this was going to be sky or if I was going to put a branch, which I still may do branches, but at least the sky will be there if I choose otherwise. All right, so up here I've got just a little bit of white mixed in, but I may come over here and maybe add a little bit Just kind of highlight over on this side a little. Not a major, like a major cloud. I may come back out a little more white and lighten that up just a little bit. And sometimes I have to turn it so I can see better what it looks like, because when it's turned around this way, the lights I have shining on it, I have a hard time seeing what color it actually is coming out to be. So this one I think I'm going to add just a little more, and I'm changing my brush up and I'm doing more of a side instead of painting normally like I would this way. I've actually got it turned and just kind of making some streak looks. So it looks more like the streaky clouds that you see in the sky uh, rather than the fluffy clouds. Those thinned out clouds. Let's see, is this one doing that or is this one? This one's pretty thin. I may add one more up here. And I didn't make sure that blue was wet, so I'm going to do this backwards. But it'll give the cloud a little bit different look. All right, so there's our clouds in just a little bit different form, various colors and stuff. See if you can see it a little better. And like I said, I'm not going to try to finish this one tonight because I don't have a color layout and I'm just working this as I go. So we're just gonna start on it and see how far we get, and we'll go from there. Now I'm going to take my white and go ahead and come down here and put a second layer of white because I know I'm going to do this as snow. So I'm going to go ahead and add another layer of white and darken this up. And I'm going to go right to the door of the barn here because I'm probably going to I may use some snow tech on this one. Y'all knew that was coming, right? Because it's winter. Y'all knew I was going to be adding that on here. I can't help it. To me, it's just, it just has to be. So I'm probably going to pile. Oh, I had a little bit of run over there. That's not good. Let's put you over there. But if I pile up snow a little bit right there at the bottom, then it gives it that, you know, it's been snowing for a little bit and it's starting to pile up on things. Now, again, I'm not going to do a whole lot. I'm just kind of adding a little extra layer of white here because I'm not real sure where I'm going to put the trees yet. But I feel like it needs something other than just uh, you know, something in the background. Okay. Now then, where do I want to move to next? Maybe I will work on the barn next. And the reason I say the barn next is the barn, I know I'm doing a certain color. I think I'm going to take a little bit of red and maybe a little bit of, I've got a color here called cinnamon stick. And I may take a little bit of it and mix to try to come up with a reddish brown color to go with on the barn. But the roof I may actually have to work on just off camera and then kind of talk y'all through what I did, because I actually have either that or test a portion of it. May do that, may test a portion of it. I actually have a little kit that's called Rusted Steel, and I would love to put a rusty roof on this barn and just make it. I mean, it's a nice looking barn, don't get me wrong, but you know, I like barns with older roofs, so we may add a rusty roof to this barn, give it a little age and wisdom. So I think I am going to see what I can create here. This is called cinnamon stick. I picked this up actually before Christmas, and I did not get to use it on anything before Christmas. And so let's see what we can come up with. I'm going to add just a little bit of red if I can get some red out of here. Undoubtedly, I used a good bit of red over Christmas. Imagine that, red and Christmas. Who would have thought it? All right, let's see what we got here. I don't want a huge brush, not like I did with the white or the blue. Maybe a little bigger than what I want. Here we go. This is the one I'm looking for. All right. Let's mix this up and see what we come up with. Lightened it up a little more than what I wanted. Wonder if I add crimson to it. Yeah, the bad thing is if I don't get this covered in one whack, then I will not remember what I did to create this color. I'm thinking. It's not frustration, it's thinking. I'm thinking. That's deep burgundy. No, I want my browns, not my reds. Milk chocolate. No, I don't want milk chocolate. Not honey brown. Okay, where's my sable at? Where's sable brown? Dark chocolate. No, not really dark chocolate. I did clean up some, and this is where I usually try to have, ooh, burnt sienna. Burnt sienna is part of the collection to do the rusted steel. So let's see what we got here. We're just mixing it, you know. We're just creating a color as we go. And I may come back and create a little bit of a weathered look to it, just to give it a little character. It's got a little bit of red to it. Some brown mixed in. Oh, I'm painting in the snow. Well, crud. Have no fear, baby wipes are near. This is why we keep them handy. So that way we can clean up and fix any boo-boos. And I'll just go back over that with white, just to brighten it back up a little bit. I was just enjoying that color. Actually, I like the way that turned out. Well, goodness, I'm just getting it everywhere. Time for another baby wipe. Yep, we'll go over that one more time. Brighten that white back up. And I may add just a little bit more of the brown for the side. And the reason I say that is because I'm going to say that the light is coming across the front of it. Since the light is mostly coming across the front of it, the front of it would be just a bit brighter than the side. And I could have done this one a gray. Could have had a gray barn. Gave it a very wintry kind of I don't really want to call it a drab look, but just that winter look to it, where everything kind of has that gray tint going on. All right, so there we are so far. We've got our blue sky, we've got our snow on the ground, some area for some trees in the background, and of course the front of our barn. So this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little more burnt sienna, and then I'm going to add a little bit of cinnamon stick. I'm going to kind of go in reverse on this one to do the darker for the side. That way it'll be in the shadow. Let's see how this looks. I may have to add a touch of red, but maybe this will just be just a little bit of a difference, that it looks like it's a little darker on the side of the barn. Just a little bit of red. Which, if you remember, I added quite a few colors when I started on the barn itself. So, and I told you I would not be able to recreate that. But I did get a single layer on there, so that's good. All right, so that's just a little bit darker. Now, on the doors. Trying to decide what I want to do with the doors. Do I want to just do red doors? Do I want them to be a little bit darker like the side, even though the side is technically in the shadows, so that's why it's a little bit darker. I could add a little more cinnamon and create something closer to what the rest of the barn looks like. Let's see what we've got here. And then I'll come back with another color for the crisscross. I may do a white or a lighter brown for the crisscross of the doors. Okay, so there is our barn. Now I'm going to move to our, you know what, I started to say I'd move to the branches, but the only thing is, if I move to the branches, I'm going to have an interesting time coming up with my trees. So here's what I'm going to do. I am going to find a green color that I want to use. There's forest green. Let's see. I know I'm going to want evergreen. Hauser dark green. Let's hang on to you because I always tend to go to Hauser dark green for some of these. Nope, that's Jewel. Evergreen, evergreen. Where? There you are. It's like I know I've got evergreen in here. Evergreen is probably going to be my needles because the cardinal is actually sitting in a fir or evergreen type tree. So that's actually going to be the needles. So I know I'm going to use that on the foreground. Now the background, I'm thinking I am probably, I may even start with black. That might be a good place to start. Start with black. I'm just going to put a drop. I mean, an ever so teeny tiny drop. And I'm going to get, oh, wait, here. This is the brush I want. Nice, round, skinny brush. I'm just going to come up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with making the, it's going to be the trunks of the trees. This will be where I start from. You actually will not be seeing this. It will be in the shadows, so to speak. It's so funny, I really did not plan on having anything in the background when I started this, when I started doing this door hanger. I was just going to have the cardinal and the barn and go from there. But as I started, I got to thinking, well, you know, it might it might be better if I added a little something else in the background. So we're just going to add a little row of trees and see what we come up with here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the dark Hauser green, which is a really, it's about the same color green that's in my shirt. So it's a dark green. I like to use it a good bit. And this might not be a skinny enough brush for this. I may have to find, a little bit skinnier brush. This is a part that I knew would probably take a little bit of time. So that's why I decided, well, we're not going to get this done in one sitting. Not with me deciding to add trees. See if it works better if I just kind of do it this way. Almost. I actually need it to come straight to, and I know it's probably hard to see what it is exactly that I'm doing. I'm actually just making a bunch of lines right at the moment. And then I'm going to come back and make some more lines, but with a lighter color. So let me pull this up close so you can watch me mess this up. No, I'm kidding. All I'm doing is I am just taking my brush. I'm actually going to get a little bit of that paint off of there. And I am just laying it to create lines. And then I'm just going to walk it down the tree all the way down. And I'll do that on both sides. So I'm just going to walk it down, just turning it a little bit and making the tree go from top to where it's kind of angled down at the bottom. Now, I know you're thinking, good heavens, how long is it going to take you to do all those trees? It will take a little bit, but this is why I said we would do this in multiple parts. I'm hoping just a two-part thing. That's what I try. I've done a couple of two parts and they work out really well because it allows me to not be rushed whenever I'm working on a door hanger, and I get to kind of go just a little bit slower and show the different, techniques and styles a little better. And I'm not really fussing over making sure that every little spot has the same, you know, amount of paint or the same direction. Because here's the thing, when you go out through the woods and you're looking at trees, does every tree look identical? Even if you were to take a tape measure out into the woods with you and walk around and look at every evergreen tree, oh, they're going to look really similar. But I mean, think about it. When you go, if you've ever gone Christmas tree shopping for a live Christmas tree, you did not see me do that. No, you didn't. You just thought you did. If you've ever gone shopping for a live Christmas tree, you will know as soon as you walk onto the Christmas tree lot or as soon as you start looking at the Christmas trees, you're not going to look at two Christmas trees and them be the exact same tree. This one's going to be taller. This one's going to be skinnier. This one's going to be shorter. This one's going to have a bare spot here and there. This one is going to be full at the top and not so full at the bottom. So you got to think that way when you're doing something like this. I really thought I did that once again, but I did not. There's no black paint on my arm. Yay. So when you're doing things like the trees for a background look, you got to remember that you don't want every one of them to look identical. Otherwise, it looks like you went out and stuck a bunch of artificial trees in your field and took a picture. And no, I didn't have to put this many sticks when I started. I could have left off some of the sticks and gone with smaller trees or a lesser number of trees. And yes, some of them are overlapping, and that's okay. When you walk out through the woods and it's a pretty good area of trees, they won't be out there all by themselves. They'll be bunched up, and some of them will have limbs all the way down to the ground, and some of them won't. So some of you may be thinking, well, you haven't said anything about what you're going to be working on this week. Normally, you tell us, hey, this is coming up and this is going to be something I'm adding or doing. Well, I'm glad you were thinking about it. Because coming up this week, I am going to be showing some Mardi Gras stuff and I'll be showing some Valentine's Day stuff. So that's where we're headed. Of course, I'll still have some winter things that I'll be showing, door hanger wise. And so you'll still see some winter door hangers showing up. And I did, you've already seen one Mardi Gras door hanger. I did it before, well, before I actually started Christmas break. So if you remember that one, I actually had several. Matter of fact, I've got two more of those to do. I have orders for a couple of more of those. So I'm going to be working on a couple of more of those here in the very, very near future. I had to get my hands situated. I'm not doing too well on this one side because my hand works well going this way, but it's not working so well going this way. I got to try to find my point here where things are working correctly. Sometimes it takes a few times to figure that out. Sometimes you have to keep working at it. How to position your hand or how to hold a brush to get it just right and get the look you're looking for, the technique you're going for. Like I said, I'm not worried so much about this particular layer because I know I'm going to go back over it with a lighter color. So this is kind of the fill-in point. So I'm not extremely picky on this one. It's kind of like using the black first. I wanted it to be the shadow of the trunk. And so now I'm just working my way. I'm almost through with my little patch of trees in the back. Just work my way down the tree, work on getting the branches going in the direction I want them to go. And most of them I've had to go all the way to the ground, but this one I may let him just kind of, maybe he's got a short little friend over here with him. Or maybe he's further behind. I actually have one skinnier brush that would have worked a little bit better. And I may pull it out and use it for the lighter color. So on the agenda are some Mardi Gras t-shirts, some Mardi Gras mugs, Mardi Gras tumblers, Valentine's Day mugs and tumblers. So that's what I will be working on this week. I've actually got a new Mardi Gras door hanger that I'll be working on as well. I debated doing that one tonight, but I was like, I finished up with Mardi Gras right before Christmas break, and so I hated to do another one right off the bat. So we may add it maybe after this one. I think my brush is getting a little too, there it goes. I had a couple of points where it was wanting to flatten out too much and create more of a blob than a line. Because I want to keep it, I know it's hard to see that far down, but I want to keep it where it's, you know, it's got a little bit, what did I do with my, there it is. Got a little bit of a stick or branch look to it because as I add the layers of different colors, or yeah, the couple of colors that I'll have for the tree, you want it to look like it's actually got branches. That one is not going to end up being in the woods very much, so I'm going to actually fill him out just a little bit more. Turn him just a little bit this way. And this one got really covered up by that one. So he's not going to come down very far. Because he's kind of in the background. And same for his little friend that's beside him. He looks like he's more one-sided than anything. I hear a train whistle. We're not too far from railroad tracks where we live, and that's one thing I got to do this year on our holiday adventure, as my daughter calls it. We try to do one thing over the holidays that I guess you could call, well, some might say a holiday field trip. Uh, like I said, she likes to call it our holiday adventure. We went on a train ride. It was my very first train ride, and it was her very first train ride as well. But it was a short little ride. It was only about 60 minutes, about an hour long, and but we got to watch them turn the train on a turntable, and so that was really neat. And the turntable, in the very beginning of its life, was turned by hand. It was cranked. Of course, it's not that way today, but it was very, very neat. I've always wanted to take a train ride. I think it would be really cool to travel across country on train. So that was our holiday adventure, which was really neat. either my brush has gotten very, very saturated, which I feel is the problem, and I'm having a hard time getting my tree limbs to be very distinct like they were at the beginning, or my hand is getting heavier, one of the two. Could be either or it could be a combination of the two. All right, so since these are kind of a little more sporadic, I'm going to go and just touch in a little bit here. So that way they don't look so very different from the ones at the end. Okay. All right, so there's my little forest of trees in the background there, just kind of up on the hillside. So we're just going to, we created a hill coming down and it goes behind the barn. And the barn may be in a valley, or maybe there's a valley on the other side of the barn. You know, that's up to your imagination. All right, let's see here. I'll tell you what we're going to do to wrap this one up. I'm going to go ahead and do the brown on the branches, and we'll have that done. And then next week we'll pick back up and we will attempt to finish everything out. So let's see. I am going to need, I'm going to go with the darker. I'm going to go with the darker brown, my dark chocolate for the limbs. And then that way they'll be in the shadow, so to speak. Well, come on. Ah, there we go. I'm just going to add this right here in this little cup with this one. And I'm going to get a round brush. Yep, that ought to be about right. But I got to remember that my little trees are still wet and not to run my finger through them. So at least with the limbs filled in, you'll have an idea of what we're looking at. And I could leave any more greenery off as far as this goes and just have the bird perched on a tree that has lost all of its leaves for the winter. So that's a thought as well. That wasn't my original thought for all of this, but like I said, this is a progressive work because I really did not even pick colors for for this. I'm kind of going backwards on this. I should be coming toward me and not going back up the way. And here with my trees, it will take a couple of coats, especially where I went over the limbs with the green trees. But to make sure it's well covered and has a nice dark base for if I decide to put the needles on the tree. I want to make sure it's well coated behind it. I believe that's a limb that's going behind the bird, if I'm not mistaken. If it wasn't, it is now. So, telling you, we're just kind of creating this one as we go because it's been a while since I did this. And so I'm trying to remember exactly what I was thinking as I was creating. And you may be wondering, well, why didn't you finish it? Well, sometimes life gets busy and things pick up. And you start projects, and you don't always get to come back right back to them. Maybe some time before you come back around, and that's the case with this one. And then I really wanted to paint it before Christmas, and so I had it cut out. But then I didn't get to paint it before Christmas. But that worked out okay because we're in winter and now I get to do the winter scene. I'll have to do a little touch up there in a couple of spots where I dripped some of my paint. Not on purpose, but it happens. All right, so I'm going to finish up just a little bit of a second coat here on my branches. And then we're going to wrap this one up for tonight. And we'll come back next Sunday and try to finish it up. Hopefully we can get everything finished up. I'm looking forward to working on the tin roof because I have had this little, they call it a little kit. And it basically walks you through the steps of creating a rusted steel look in your painting, whether it's a door hanger or a canvas or anything like that. So I'm excited to test that because I've been wanting um, to do that for a couple of months now. So, okay, so we've got the background pretty much accomplished as far as the sky and a few clouds floating around up there. And then our snow, we've got that. Oh, that was good. We've got our snow going across the bottom here. And then we worked on the branches and, of course, the trees to create the background. So we're going to call it, we're going to pause it right here. We're going to call it paused. We're going to call it on hold for next week. And we'll pick back up and see if we can get it completed with our cardinal, and then another layer to our trees in the background, as well as doing the roof on our barn, and then this little barn quilt. And now the little barn quilt, basically you have red for the cardinal, and then there's some little triangles here, and so they'll be painted green. So we'll have another extra splash of green into the mix. So it will be a lot of green and red, a good bit of red because of the cardinal. And we'll see about, we may add a little bit of a weathered look to our barn as well. We'll see. Well, I hope y'all have a great week. I know everybody this week, it was kind of sort of get back in the swing of life and try to get back into the routine of schedules. And I know some are still making that adjustment. And so this will be week 2 to try to iron out all of the getting back into the swing of things. So I hope the week goes smoothly for you. And I will be showing off things as I get them created. Again, we're going to be working on some Mardi Gras stuff, some Valentine's Day stuff. And then next week, we'll come back and we'll do part 2 of our barn cardinal. So hope you have a great week. Thanks so much for watching.